And now back to your regular programming.
If you speak better to yourself.
You showed up for probably the dumbest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Let's have that smile again.
Tell me how that happens. Physically should not happen.
Relax.
If you say it
Give me as well.
3 times a day, God will line it up.
He's just an absolute hack, and he gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week. It's just terrible.
Welcome back to Hack City. Joe DeLeone and Sean Anderson, 2 former college football players from the University of Rhode Island. Today we're talking about the Nico drama from Tennessee. We also have some funny comments from Kenny Pickett of the Cleveland Browns. We're also going to talk about Justin Fields sharing insight why he bailed on the Steelers and why he headed to the New York Jets. All that oh God, well, I got completely punched in the throat there. All that coming up later on today's show. Before we get there, Sean, can you share with our listeners a quick word from our friends over at Bet Online?
At MyBookie.
I don't know of another
Yes.
sports betting platform. Ignore what I just said.
Yes. At MyBookie, it's the ultimate spot to cash in on every swing, upset, and Sunday charge. If you bet on the Masters, I don't know how you felt. You're probably feeling pretty unwell unless you took Rory. And even if you did take Rory, you're still pretty unwell. I'd have to be taking a walk, a nice depression walk, had I laid some money down on that choke artist. I'm sure. I know he got the green. I know he got it.
He got it.
Choke artist.
Don't put that. You can't give him a little bit of.
I will not.
For how much he chokes, that was the most successful he could have finished because he's had some blow-ups. He's had some bad blow-ups. There was no way. We all saw when he lined up for that putt on 18. There was no way that he wasn't going to blow that to then set himself up to triumphantly win.
Why would you ever throw money on Rory ever again? If you're going to MyBookie and you're placing bets on golf tournaments to come later in the summer and spring.
Drama. You like drama. That's why you put money on Rory.
First of all, deposit any amount, $50 up to $2,000 to get half matched instantly with promo code MM50, MM50. No waiting. You don't need to bet to receive it. Just bonus cash right away. So that's there for you. Take any other golfer but Rory, because all I could see is just a pit of pressure in your stomach the entire round. Regardless, MyBookie, that's where you want to be taking all your golf action. That's where me and Joe are placing all of our golf action. And then baseball's roaring. I am cooling down off of an early season heater, but MyBookie will have me covered through the season. So head there, use promo code MM50.
All right. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
Sean, at the end of this past week, there was one of the craziest stories that we've ever seen in college football. Nico Iamaleava, the quarterback at Tennessee, entered in contract negotiations with his current team, something that we have never seen before, a headline that we've never seen. And multiple steps later, he's in the transfer portal. We're going to unpack what happened. And thanks to some guy that we don't know named Ryan Roberts of A to Z Sports, published a story and provided some really unique insight. Ryan called me before he published it, and he kind of gave me the skinny what happened. And the entire thing gets crazier than what everybody thought. I implore everybody to go to Ryan on Twitter at Rise and Draft. Go read the article. It outlines all of this. The short of it is that Nico had no control over any of this. His father, his representative, his agent, were trying to muscle more money out of Tennessee because they weren't satisfied with the improvements that they wanted to have happen to their offensive line. Tried to get $4 million, couldn't get the $4 million. Also, apparently, Nico's dad panicked and told Nico not to show up to practice. That was not some type of strategic holdout move. That was a panicked, we don't know what to do in this situation. There was a lot of negotiating going behind the back of Nico's father. There were multiple layers to them reaching out to talking to teams to try and find if anybody was interested. And I think the funniest part about all of this, Sean, is that nobody was really interested in Nico.
Yeah.
They reached out to Oregon, Dan Lanning, pass. Notre Dame, not interested. USC and UCLA said, sure, but not at the price that you're asking for. So now we sit here, and I think the craziest part about this, Sean, is Nico might not have a dance partner. Nico, and the funniest outcome is him transferring to a G5 program, which probably won't actually happen.
New Mexico will take him. Go ahead. You can head back west. They'll take him.
Where'd you get
They'll empty out the coffers, somewhere in the G5. You can go play. Have fun. Why not?
God. that meth money. That's where that's
Sure,
that's
no
gonna
kidding.
pay
Yeah,
for
I tell you what,
Nico's NIL.
he'll look good in that conference too. He'll look good. We'll be looking at, oh, this is the Nico we've been waiting for.
Sean, I just want to ask you first though, before we kind of speculate of like where what makes sense for him to go to. What was your reaction to this?
This was a total mess, and it's sports fans are hilarious because they love the free market and they love pocket watching, and rightfully so. It's the free market. I think a lot of sports fans respect it. I think I respect it. We respect it until it stinks. We respect it until everyone collectively has a whiff of, oh, this isn't right. Mm-hmm. Something here isn't right. It's an instinct, gut feeling that the nation had. I was actually texting Vito about it. Another quarterback, another former collegiate football player. He says, yeah, we were talking. It's not a jealousy or envy thing, but when you know something's not right, everyone collectively has this feeling of they are botching it. Nico's blowing it. The dad is too involved. They're showing him on TV too much. You get flooded with hints and clues of the bad optics. It all rushes back in the hindsight. And you say, wow, was this doomed from the start? Maybe it was. And how do we maybe we just let the market decide it after that, and we'll see what the valuation is after his season. I can't imagine someone pulling out $3 million now even.
Not only was his performance this year not good enough for him to be worth more than the 2.4 that he was making, which was already on the upper side of what he should have been making. I don't know why anyone would shell out money to sign up for this. This has all been aired out. Why would you want to sign up to deal with the drama of his father, who's a helicopter parent, and also the agent who's going to just start reaching out, negotiating with teams while he's on the roster?
Yeah.
Why would you want to sign up for this?
It's a headache. It's a total headache.
Send him to Kent State, man. Send him to Toledo.
That would rule. Go ahead. Hey, they'll pay you. They'll clear it out.
He'll learn. He'll learn.
Send him to Toledo, rubber capital of America, and then they'll get big rubber to pay for him. That's great.
Where could we really cast him? Someone said in the chat the Wuhan Scorpions, the Wuhan Scorpions, Shanghai Sharks, man. I'm sure that they'd take him. I hate having to bash the kid initially, right?
Because
that's when
you come out on the other end of it and you learn all of this. There's so many dummies that aren't going to do any reading and are going to go on shows on Monday and say Nico's an entitled quarterback. And even I, on day one, was casting narratives and starting to create maybe you just can't recruit Cali kids, West Coast kids on the East Coast. Maybe you just can't do it. I've seen the examples. I thought Nico disgruntlement. Maybe not. Maybe it was all a sham, and now we know it's a sham, and we know it's just backdoor dealings. It's a total headache. It's an absolute mess, disaster from what college football used to be to the awful, ugly puberty period that we are still in, and it's going to be 5 years, 10 years until it all collapses, and we have to start from scratch in the 40-team mega conference. And I don't think it's by design, but that's an option. I don't think you can repeal it, though. You can't repeal NIL, transfer portal stuff, after players are experiencing freedom and players are not being just held on teams because the coaches don't want them going somewhere else. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube there. So we're just going to have to deal with more ugliness like this, where players get brunt of a lot of the criticism because adults are making bad decisions for them.
So there's two angles that I kind of have with this. The first take that I have developed as I got more information. The first one I stand by is what Blake and I said on Friday. Shame on Nico's dad and his agent for handling this the way that it did, because it sounded like Nico wanted to stay there. It sounded like Nico wanted to play at Tennessee. It does not seem like he's happy with the outcome of the situation. I'm sure that if you asked a 19-year-old quarterback if he would rather just stick where he is if he couldn't get more money, he'd probably be more than happy sticking and playing with his friends that he had already developed and grew and got to know everybody there, instead of going through all of this drama. This could seriously impact his future. I was talking to Ryan about this. I know for a fact that even if he goes somewhere and he transfers and he plays really well and he re-enters the first-round conversation in the next 2 years for the draft, there's a strong chance that an NFL team or most NFL teams will let him fall to the second round because they don't want to sign up for this. The NFL does not, and they do a lot of character digging. If we could find out all of this information in a weekend, there's more information that can be found during the character reporting process leading up to the NFL draft. It has nothing to do with Nico. It has everything to do with family members that are becoming distractions and that are causing negative outcomes that are going to hurt. Like, how do we know that they're not going to start holding out after his rookie contract and do some stupid shit like that?
Yeah, he's not showing up until August, until we get the biggest rookie quarterback deal ever. And that's great.
Right.
That's given the chance that, or given the scenario that he is a first round quarterback and a guy that a franchise want to build everything around. This year, you may not be looking at it as such. And it's almost crazy for me to ask this, but is there a chance that Nico's dad and his agent had the foresight to know that he doesn't have like that makings to get that big bag in the NFL?
No, they were just trying to, they were trying, there was a short-sighted viewpoint, and it was just big dicking as much as you could possibly big dick. It was probably the residual belief of what they were able to control in the market when he was a recruit, which at the time it was all promise. It's easy to get a big check sent to you when you're first entering the college football world, because these teams want to lock up a guy for multiple years and they want to be able to entice said player to come play for them over others. There's not really a lot of good options for high school quarterbacks coming out. So the more traits you can get, the better, all of those things. So they were probably used to how those negotiations went the first time and thought they could just big dick the entire thing. From my understanding, though, apparently in Polynesian culture, and like this doesn't really have anything to do with them, it's just in Polynesian culture, parents, the father has a lot of control and say in what happens with their kids and what they do.
Yeah.
And I think that it just seems like Nick, I believe is the name of his father, took it a step further. And then what was highlighted in Ryan's article is that the recent round of negotiations that were initiated weren't even Nick, the father, didn't even know about them. So it was toxic relationship on top of a toxic relationship that completely tanked this entire thing for what you just said, not having the foresight of, all right, we're not going to get the money that we're looking for. So why don't we just stay pat and we try to play well this season? And if we're really not satisfied, we'll go to the NFL. Because if Nico played well this year, then he goes on, he doesn't need to stick around in college anymore. You don't have to deal with this BS. Just move on to the NFL, get your contract. Last thing with this too that kind of makes me think about, and where I feel bad with Nico before I criticize him, it kind of makes sense to me why he was so up and down last year. Like now I'm starting to understand, like, is there some sort of cloud over his head that is impacting his decision-making and the way that he's playing? It feels like that there is. So I don't know the way I want to phrase this. Like you and I both have had fathers who were coaches, right? That coached us at times.
Right.
I don't think our fathers were as overbearing as this, but whenever there was an instance where your dad was on your ass about something, the way that you played, it always impacted the way that you played the next game, correct?
Yeah, it definitely did. But in college, it was just how'd practice go, because you leave it up to the college coaches at that point. You leave it up to the guys that are now looking over your son, aka you would.
Well, but remove that layer. Remove that layer because we're assuming that Nico's father, this is an assumption, but Nico's father is more overbearing than that. And any just the general relationship of a father who's super involved with the son's athletic career.
Yeah.
Did that not happen to you, though, where you felt like your dad was up your ass and it negatively affected your performance?
It's always tough knowing if I, had a bad baseball game where I pitched and I walked 8 batters. And I went back and we had that Henderson family dinner where everyone kind of rattles off their numbers of the night. The next day, those comments are still floating and circulating around. It's just how it is, especially when your dad's a coach. Did you watch? I could see how if Nico was getting those criticisms though throughout the season, his really bad games could have definitely been impacted by it. And he didn't do it. His dad didn't do a good job of appearing like he didn't want it to be all about himself. He was always in the stands. He was always decked out.
Yes. All of this is making sense.
I talked to Anthony, did an interview with Anthony Becht, and he said, yeah, sometimes I can get in the suite and the cameras aren't going to track me, or if they do, it's going to be obstructed. And that's where I'd prefer to be because I want to let Rocco, his son, the quarterback, let it be about him. I don't want it to be about me. Sometimes I can't always get the suite and I'm in the stands and they find me and it irritates me. He doesn't like that the camera's always coming to him, former NFL tight end, coach in the UFL, doesn't like that. I don't think that Nico's dad was ever putting that out there.
No.
Did you ever watch? And with the Nico value stuff, you watch Silicon Valley, right?
Yes.
Were you a fan of the character Russ Hanneman?
Why am I blanking on
Billionaire.
Yes, yeah.
He had a quote that
okay.
directly relates to this situation where they were talking about company value and the worth of a product. Hanneman said, it's not about how much you earn, it's about what you're worth. And who's worth the most? Companies that lose money, suggesting focusing on product value and potential future growth is more important than immediate revenue generation. So with Nico doing this,
you're talking way too damn smart for the show.
It's immediately showing his worth is less than what the initial NIL valuation is. And if he goes out next year and someone's paying him $1.2 million compared to his deal that he had set up with Tennessee, that's a total mistake move. You could have just settled and said, hey, I got lucky. They liked the potential of me when I was coming out of high school. They gave me that valuation, and now I got him handcuffed to that. But if we're going to keep on
re-entering the market,
we're going to keep on re-entering the market, reset my own personal value.
Yeah.
It's going to go down unless I have a Heisman year, unless I have a guy, unless I'm on the podium in votes, which he wasn't that close to at any point in the season this past year, especially playing teams in conference. So this is a risk that I think other athletes, if you do get a big bag, well, I don't want what happened with Nico to happen to me. I got these suckers paying me a bunch of money. If I go out and miss a couple tackles, that gets diminished instantly.
I think where that's a really good way to put it, because he's now negatively impacted the amount of money that he can make this upcoming season. I think that there is going to be a rude awakening for where he actually lands and what money he's making. The craziest layer to this is, like, what if he sits out? Like, what if he just straight up doesn't play because he thinks that he continues to get bad advice from his father and from this representative?
You know how pissed I'd be if I was him, and all this money gets yanked out of me because I got two blundering sidekicks in this operation, bungling it up. I'd say, no, I'm not playing, and I'm not dealing with you guys. I might as well go start from scratch. I'll go to Oregon State. I'll go in and hide out for a year. Why not?
The only thing about this, though, like, where I'm critical of Nico, it's a real lack of maturity on his end. Like, to allow all of this to impact the outcome, to allow for two other people to completely sway everything that's happening the way that it is. I feel for him, but at the same time, you got to step up. You got to, like, you have to put your foot down. And I know that a lot of these conversations were happening behind his back and that he wasn't fully aware of it. But letting your dad control this much of your life, that is what led you down this path.
It's like every athlete thinks that they can do it. They think that they can go and have everyone working together and everyone's a big happy family. It's not how it works. The business is too big. The money numbers it's too much actual capital to maneuver around where everyone wants a dip of it. Getting the family involvement, there's so many stories. There's so many instances. If I'm an athlete, young athlete, I'm saying, dude, just be normal. Just come to the game and cheer. I'll handle everything else, or I'll have the administration handle everything else. And if you think they're not doing right by me, we can have that conversation. But I'm on the field here. I'm doing this. I need to actually be accountable for what my image is, what my optic is, what my name and likeness is,
right.
And having it manipulated by outside sources. It's a dangerous ass game. And it also opens the door for all the doom and gloomers, all of the fear mongers to come in and say, we need to tear it all down, or we need to shut it down. This has been a complete failure. I don't think it all has been. I think it's a lot of growing pains, but we're just inviting in the cynics when stuff like this happens also.
So I would actually argue, and it's smart to bring that up, but, like, I would actually argue that the outcome of this actually saves the sport more than it causes concern. Because if Nico had stayed and this had been under wraps, under closed doors, and like suddenly, like, oh, Nico reaches new deal with his team, blah, 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 that would have been cataclysmic. That would have been so bad for the sport, because you would have seen quarterbacks throwing tantrums across the country, their representatives throwing tantrums across the country. Why can't we get more money? Nico just got more money, and we played better than Nico. Like, it would have caused such a huge problem. Huge problem. But because Tennessee said, F this, we are not getting completely manhandled in this situation. even though he might have a little bit of leverage at the current moment. The fact that they put their foot down, I think, saves future negotiations. Because I think that now, I think a lot of agents are like, oh shit, we can't go around swinging the big dick anymore.
Yeah.
We can't. We don't, as much as we underperformed and we want to get more money, which there's a lot of kids out there getting big deals that just did a little bit of enough that earned them some money. They can't go around doing that anymore. I don't know if it'll completely shut it down, but I think that it's going to cool the market for a little bit.
I was shocked. Instant reaction, floored when Tennessee said, no, we're good. Who in today's day and age where you have social teams 30 people deep, you have everything, all the pomp and circumstance, more pomp and circumstance that has ever surrounded college football, and enticing players to come to your school, and the social everything. For them to say, no, we're putting our foot down. I don't care if you're one of the most famous college football players in the country. I don't care if you're already a household name. This is not how we're operating. It took balls, and I respect that they actually showed we're going to have a spine here and not get bullied by people that are outside of this inner workings. I respect and commend Tennessee for doing so. I hope that people can be as rational throughout the week as we have been.
He would look great at the University of Ohio.
Oh yeah, that green,
the Bobcats.
Oh yeah,
or like Ball State. State.
Nico
at Ball State.
That Ball State red doesn't grab me. I got to see some Western Michigan uniforms this weekend. Yellow and brown. That'd be that.
No, I don't know if I like him in Western Michigan.
Kind of digging it.
What about Valparaiso? What if we send him to Valparaiso? They got a decent football program. McNeese. I think he could do some things.
You want to start a McNeese?
UC Davis. What if you went to UC Davis?
Why not?
Well, he's from California. I tweeted this. Sac State suddenly has all this NIL money.
That'd be sick. I think
Sac State, buddy, sign up.
Here's what's funny.
You don't got to travel that far.
Like people will take no stock in the California players East Coast thing. I don't know. I know rarely West Coast guys coming to the East Coast that one like it and two thrive in it.
They all complain.
We had a running back our freshman year who was a stud, who was carving dudes up. He was like an RB4 as a freshman, and he was working on teams. He was going to have actual burn freshman year. He left 2 weeks into camp because he just was not digging it. It's different. It's a different way of life. It's faster. It's more hardcore out here. It's another country. If I'm an East Coast football program, the farthest west I go in recruiting, I don't go farther than the Rocky Mountains. Everything outside of the Rocky Mountains, that's theirs. They can have it. The USC can have it. Mm-hmm. Arizona State can have it. I'm staying with the guys that might have some semblance of normalcy, where they're going to be playing and living for the next 4 years, hopefully.
And they storm the beaches of
Normandy. Oh, wow. Look, this kid's sharp today.
All right, we're going to move on to the NFL. Before we do, though, if you've noticed, we're wearing some cool hats. We got a new sponsor, Melin. If you're looking for some high-quality hats, we literally just unboxed these, and you can literally feel. I'm using literally as direct as possible. There is no room for interpretation here. You can feel how high-quality this hat is. I'm excited to go golfing in this hat because I don't know what types of hats you wear when you go golfing. Mm-hmm. My hats get torn up, and they get so dirty. I got one like good hat, and that one gets still super dirty. This one, I don't think it will. Well, and I've been told it's pretty durable.
I've got a notoriously sweaty back of the head and definitely above the brow.
We should ask if we can get some science on their end on if they've built to protect against that back of the head.
It feels like a hat that is not going to like get all heavy and weight. Like when I sweat, Jesus, that sounded country. When I sweat through a hat, the hat feels like it's 5 pounds afterwards. This one feels like it's actually going to just still feel like a hat, which I'm excited to try sweating and heavily breathing while lunging around the golf course all day.
Yeah, we're gonna post some pics of us this upcoming weekend. Maybe we should go play in the rain to prove the durability.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. We'll go with the Melin Gore-Tex Golf Invitational.
These aren't your average hats. Melin makes the most premium and durable headwear in the world. Whether you're tailgating, working out on the golf course, or heading out for date night, you need a Melin. They're built to last 5 times longer than any other hat. Mid-read pause here. Mm-hmm. Next time, which you haven't had a date in a long time, next time you have a date, can you wear the hat and we post it on Twitter? I'm sure Melin would love that.
I think it's pretty
A
bad.
first date.
It's pretty bad form to show up first date in a hat. I think
But
that
it's a
sets
Melin
off some
hat.
I think it sets off some red flags. This hat, I think it's a little subtle. It kind of has the new modern minimalist look. So maybe I could slide by.
It's my new favorite hat, though. I've been wearing my Melin for the past few months straight. Oh, well, that's a thanks. No sweat stains, no smell. Looks the same as the day I took it out of the box, and I get a ton of compliments every time I've been wearing it. Man, it
looks good, man.
Yeah, thanks. Even
love that hat.
if it's warm out, you might be jumping into the pool, lake, or ocean. You need their hydro collection. But when it gets cold and you need something to stay warm, don't worry. Melin has you covered there as well. They have a full thermal collection with different levels of warmth to keep you on the go this winter. So if you're looking for a hat that is as tough as you, check out Melin. You won't wear anything else after you get one for yourself. If you're looking for the world's most durable hat, look no further. Go to melin.com. That's MELIN.com and put it to test yourself. All right, Sean, I found this quote, and we're like in this buffer of time when there's like not a lot of headlines going on. So I always love when somebody's at a charity event or they happen to give some quotes to a news outlet, and we can just take it and run with it. And this one's one of those ones. Kenny Pickett spoke on the recent signing of Joe Flacco. The Cleveland Browns added Joe Flacco into the mix, who was formerly with the team when they went on a playoff run, or they made it to the playoffs. He won Comeback Player of the Year. Most unexpected performance, and then they fell off a cliff when they went back to Deshaun Watson. Pickett weighed in on Flacco coming in and him being traded for him being a part of this Cleveland quarterback room. And he was asked point blank if he thinks that there's a competition. And he said that that's the plan. Pickett said of potentially starting for Cleveland. I'm not going there to hang out. I want to go play. I'm excited. Been working hard for it, taking it a day at a time. Kenny, I'm sorry to admit this. You are not in first of the line to start, brother.
No.
You think that they think that you're the one who's going to start, not the guy who just took them to the playoffs? They brought in Joe Flacco for a reason. It seems that they might not be all in on drafted Shador second overall. Maybe that's the direction this has turned into. But you're like third on the list if we're being completely honest with ourselves. If they still drafted Shador, you get bumped down. And good old Joe Flacco, who's already used to the offense, gets the bump ahead of you. I would be hoping that you make the roster, Kenny.
It should be your time to hang out. Why not hang out in Cleveland?
Yeah.
If you were on a team like when he was with Philly, great. That you're not hanging out there. You're on a contender. You have to be ready.
Pressure.
You have to be ready to go in. You have to be ready to execute if your number is called, because you could be the player that determines a playoff win, playoff seeding. You could be a guy that steps in if a quarterback goes down with a little bruise in the fourth quarter. You keep the team afloat. You keep the season going. Cleveland, what else are you doing in Cleveland but hanging out? Play some ping pong, play some cornhole, get the fellas' morale up, be a locker room guy and someone that can float until you land on a contender. And then you could get ready to play. Then you could wait for a quarterback in front of you to tear an Achilles, and then you could flash with a good team, opposed to Cleveland. Joe Flacco gets hit and he turns into dust, and then you step in with your big glove, throwing the ball all over the field, looking like Kenny Pickett, which is what you don't want to do. So hang out in Cleveland, be a good guy, and maybe you'll be on a better team next year where then you can actually focus.
God, we've got such low expectations for Kenny Pickett. Yeah, just go be a good guy. Just go be I'm convinced that this is why they went and traded for Kenny Pickett. You've got the atrocity that is Deshaun Watson of a horrible human being that you're like, who is like the most just nicest guy that we could possibly go get that's not going to get into any trouble? I think he was engaged in college. He's got a lot of experience underneath him. He's very quiet. He's not very outspoken. You don't hear a lot from him. He's not very pompous. Apparently he is from this quote. Let's go get Kenny Pickett. That's going to do a little. It's like when in college, the specialists, you keep them around because they boost the team GPA. You're kind of hoping that this boosts the team image because you've got the super pervert and Deshaun Watson still sticking around.
Yeah.
I forget, but we're sitting here talking about Flacco and Pickett. I honestly forget that Deshaun Watson's technically still on the roster. I don't know what's happening there. I don't know enough about salary cap workings to know like if they're going to just get rid of him.
It's the worst, not even offseason move. It's the worst football move ever made, the Deshaun Watson trade. It is by far
Easily.
It dwarfs the Albert Hainsworth signing. It dwarfs the worst trade you've ever thought of. You could not write a move that a professional NFL football team would make that has this much residual effect, where you got Kenny Pickett talking about competing with Joe Flacco on your team, and they're going to be lower on the depth chart than the worst quarterback the NFL may have ever seen over the last couple of years. It is unfathomable that this is still developing. And this rose hasn't even, I think, begun to bloom, because Cleveland just this month admitted it was a mistake, that they messed up. The Haslams are just now taking accountability for that blunder. So we got another full season, and then next off season, where I don't think Deshaun Watson's getting shipped. If they couldn't ship him for that possible breach of his rehab assignment where he's walking around.
Well, I don't know if they're still like evaluating that. Like, I don't know how that works.
I think they got destroyed. I think Watson said, you don't have enough probable cause. This is my time. This is what I'm doing. I wasn't doing anything that was risky. Dude, if they could have got out, they should have got out, because the last thing an NFL team wants to do, you and I both know this, admit that they're wrong, especially admitting they're wrong for so much GD money. It's the worst move ever. And now maybe, I don't know. Last year's Oakland room was really bad, and I've seen some other bad rooms. This is in contention.
This is one of the worst quarterback rooms that I can think of. Well, it helps that they have Flacco, who went to a playoff game.
Do you see how crazy that is to say, though?
Flacco played well. He didn't play well at the Colts because that wasn't really like a great fit for the circumstance. There was a different circus going on with Anthony Richardson trying to get on and off the field and all of that crap. That wasn't right for him. Cleveland was right for Joe Flacco. And I'm kind of glad that they brought back Joe Flacco. I think that there's a way that this could produce some kind of success. I don't know what that is, but I agree with you. I don't think that we can ever, and I don't think this is a hot take to say, the Deshaun Watson trade will go down in the history of the sport as the worst trade ever, because not only did you give up a ton of picks for him, you moved on from a guy in Baker Mayfield who you drafted first overall, who was the first actual good quarterback draft pick that you've had in not 10 years, decades.
Probably since Kaiser.
Decades. Oh, screw yourself. Decades. And he's now doing great things with the Buccaneers, and he is a competent starter. And if you had him while Deshaun Watson was hurt and unavailable and during all this shit, and he was starting instead of Flacco, who knows what Baker Mayfield could have done if you had just been patient about it instead of rushing him out of the building. But the biggest part about all this, he's an enormous pervert. He's a huge freaking creep. Alleged or not alleged, he did some of the most weird, perverted shit that he possibly could have done. Nothing that sends him to jail, but really fucked up. Really fucked up.
It's a bad look. This is why me and Chris Hetu are going to rebuild NFL Top 10 from scratch. I'm going to want you for some VO work there. I'm not sure if their old guy is still going to be there, but there needs to be more. There needs to be more. You're so annoying. There needs to be more commentary and more revision of these top 10 lists, because I love them so much. This is just such an easy 1-1 for me. Kenny Pickett. I don't know how we got here from Kenny Pickett. Oh, it's because Kenny Pickett is so bad that he has to compete with Deshaun Watson and Joe Flacco. That's where I'm at here.
Well,
and I'm rooting for Kenny Pickett to be the starter out of all of them. I think he has the best possible chance to get Cleveland to 5 wins this year.
The reason why I brought this up, to circle back here, I just kind of found it very funny when he was kind of asked about the potential of starting and all this is, one, the irony of the situation of that's what your quarterback competition is Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, which couldn't have been two wider ends of the spectrum. And then the other part about this is just, I don't know, Kenny's comment kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know. I was just like, you should be happy that you're getting a chance to compete. You weren't traded for that reason.
Do you know where they asked him? Was he at a children's hospital where they got this question out of him? What was he doing this week for him to be asked this question and give such a It's a cocky athlete answer. I'm not going there to hang out. That's a bridge away from I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to, it's my job. Just be normal.
All it says here's what was weird about the he was at the Pitt spring game.
Oh, okay.
The Pittsburgh local Pittsburgh newspaper, Pittsburgh Tribune Review. I got this from CBS Sports, but Pittsburgh Tribune Review was the one who reported on. So he was at the Pitt spring game. Dude, Kenny, all you had to do is say, I'm at the spring game here to support.
I wouldn't go anywhere. If
Coach
I'm an
Narduzzi.
If I'm an NFL quarterback, you're not seeing me anywhere. I'm playing golf in the middle of the woods. There's not going to be tournaments. There's not going to be anything around me. I'm just
Here you are with your face plastered on a podcast.
Yeah, that's true. Oh well.
Yeah, you're saying about that's an empty statement. That is an empty statement.
You think about I wouldn't be living a little bit differently if I was an NFL player?
Your face would be everywhere. Your face would be everywhere.
You would be living differently. That's for sure.
My face would probably be more places. Even if I was a shit backup quarterback, I would be making comments all over the place.
If you made it to the NFL as a shit backup quarterback, I'd start leaking stories about you. I'd start getting paid.
All right.
I'd start getting paid.
All right.
I might. Oh God, if it gets real nitty gritty here with the rent, I might just start breaking those. Finding my own sources.
Got no story. Okay. All right.
Hey, RR, maybe I'll get something coming to you if this guy gets out of line.
By the way, Ryan joined late after the hat read to comment on our hats.
Yeah,
nice job, Ryan.
Yeah. Two guys on a podcast.
Yeah, when we got 6 Melin hats.
Watch us.
Yeah,
watch
us. You wish you had this Melin hat. Go to melin.com if you want one, Ryan. Maybe you could get one.
And Gavin, only half of us are trying to hide bald spots.
All right. There's no bald spots.
I said half.
The top of my head's completely fine. That's not a bald spot.
Why are you getting defensive?
It's not a bald spot.
Now we know who it is.
Yeah, fuck you. Justin Fields, Sean, gave insight on why he decided to leave the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers right now are in a position they don't know who their starting quarterback is. He could have gone back. They weren't aggressive in re-signing Russell Wilson, especially the way that he finished his season. He could have gone back and started this upcoming year. And the reason why he gave, and he talked a little bit about why it wasn't because of the whole Wilson situation. He kept saying that, it's a business. You can't take things personally, all those things. He kept reiterating this. But the quote that he gave is, at the end of the day, I was just excited of what the Jets had going on here with AG, meaning Aaron Glenn, and just with the coaching staff, so it doesn't really have anything to do with Pittsburgh. I find that very hard to believe. I find that very, very hard to believe, Sean, that he didn't take it personally, that he was playing as well as he did. Russell Wilson looked as shit as he did, that they didn't give him opportunity, even in the playoff game, to go out there and contribute more than what he did. They could have used some sort of a spark. Russell Wilson did not look good during those final few games.
He regressed. Yeah, he regressed sharply. And Justin Fields, it would be hard for Justin Fields not to take that personally. For him to say, these guys, you're walking around after that game, after that playoff loss, you're driving home. Like, these guys really don't believe in me. These guys have no faith in me going in and winning them a football game. I got to get out of here. I have to find someone that does. And even if the Jets if he just kind of fell into the Jets' lap, which I think happened, where the Jets needed somebody and Justin Fields needed somebody, a couple of wallflowers coming together, doing the dance in the middle of the prom. It's still better than being on a team where they just don't trust you or where they don't respect your value as a quarterback. He won games. I'm not going to ignore that Justin Fields won games, and he is overly divisive as a player in the NFL, media space. People love to slobber on Justin Fields. They love to hate him. I'm just give the guy a shot on a team that isn't total dog water. Just give him a normal team.
Wait. So not to cut you off, but that is why I really like him with the Jets. I feel and as you said, it's a very divisive, it's a very controversial name to talk about Justin Fields, because you either hate him or you love him. You want to give him a chance, or you think that he's dog-ass and that he shouldn't be given an opportunity. There's such a wide spectrum here with how people view him. That's why I like the Jets, because I don't think that they are in this upper category where he's being granted this chance to take a team to the playoffs, and kind of like with Pittsburgh this past year, where he'd have such a short leash that he'd immediately get yanked for Russell Wilson, the way that it happened as soon as Russell Wilson got healthy. Here with the Jets, there's no expectation really for them to go to the playoffs this upcoming season. They still have a lot of really good defensive pieces. They have Garrett Wilson, and they've got a bunch of his former teammates there. So he could mesh and show a lot of promising things, and this ended up being a Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold type situation. He's not going to the Browns, who we just crapped all over. He's not going somewhere where it's the bottomless pit of despair, where it'll be him and then a whole bunch of nothing. There's a lot of quarterbacks that go on to die to take jobs like that. He didn't sign with the Giants. He signed with the Jets, who have some promise that if things go well this upcoming year, at the beginning of the season, they could win 9 games and just miss the playoffs and just be the scrappy young team that's got an athletic quarterback who's killing people with his legs.
The Jets were real rough last year, and they were rough for the 8 games to close the season the year before. I won't ignore that. They were an ugly, ugly watch. But you're right. they have the promise, and they've made statements about how they're going to attack the offseason, how they're going to attack the offense. They said they're going to go with a 3 running back system. Why not? You have 3 good running backs in Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and Breece Hall. And now you got Justin Fields who can also tote that thing. So if they go run heavy, give me 30 rushes a game, but 35 rushes a game between all 4 of those dudes, you're going to win football games. You actually will do that. You don't need Justin Fields to go out there and be Steve McNair, just hurling that rock all over the place. Just run it. Go make it like almost like a college offense. I don't care what you do. But when he was winning games in Pittsburgh, it was evident that his legs were a big factor in it. He didn't beat Atlanta in week 1 by throwing a bunch of touchdowns. He did it by running for first downs and letting Chris Boswell kick field goals. Now you're with the Jets. Maybe you got some more players that can boom in the backfield. They're setting up for a better season at the quarterback position as long as they don't get outside of themselves and try to like recreate Justin Fields. Let him run as much as he throws, and you're going to have a better version of Justin Fields. Trying to make RG3 a pocket passer didn't work in 2013. Trying to make Justin Fields a dime throwing passer in 2025 is not going to happen. Just work to the player's strengths. You're an NFL offensive coordinator. You're NFL coaches. You should be smart enough to figure it out if this is the guy that's going to be leading your offense.
If you draft an offensive lineman with that first round pick that they have, and they really take that step forward, and maybe you get one more receiver in the second round, there's a real world that you could deploy Justin Fields like Jalen Hurts, and you just use him as an effective runner, and you create a lot of passing opportunities that aren't overly complex. You're not going to win every single game that way. But as Justin Fields is starting to get more and more, and I'm talking early on in his career, Jalen Hurts, like where Jalen Hurts.
The Cam Newton game plan. Cam Newton was running 1 to 2 read offenses in his first 3 years in the NFL.
That's a good point. If I feel like that is what has killed Justin Fields, where the expectation of what he was capable of doing was just too high. Not everybody is the tactile decision maker. Sometimes guys are, and that was what he was at Ohio State. He was like playing in an offense where he didn't have to make a lot of reads.
Yeah.
And he was just a really good athlete. And that was how he played so well.
He can be Superman. Let Superman be Superman.
Right.
It's like a video game. You have your healers, you have your attackers, you have your mid-range guys. I don't really know much about those types of video games, but I know that everyone has.
You the big league guy or something?
No, I am not a
what
big
we're learning
league guy. And I'm not whatever hideous game Elon Musk is playing on stream. I saw clips of it.
I think that was league.
I don't even, it's like Diablo or something. And it looks like a hideous experience to try to play that. You're just mashing buttons and it's grainy and you can barely even see your character. I don't get why people like it so much.
All right, to get us back on track here, let's move on to Hack of the Week, Sean. Every single week on Sundays, we share someone who was a complete and utter hacking it up. I'll go first. This is per Sky Sports Darts. Michael Van Gerwen, apparently this came out last week, who's a professional dart player, was forced to withdraw from last week's Premier League darts meeting after sustaining a freak injury putting on a shirt, according to Vincent van der Voort. A lot of this sounds made up. Sky Sports, this is a legitimate English news outlet. But Michael Van Gerwen is my hack of the week for apparently his injury sustained for putting on a shirt.
That's bad.
Trying on some shirts. That's the graphic.
Let's try to. How would you injure yourself putting on a shirt? I have to think the motion, he's getting way too complex with it. He's not going one arm in and then one arm in. I think he tried to do a double. And then he might have like tried to pull, and he pulls his back.
No. Here's what. No, it was his neck. So, like, have you ever been like really lazy and you've tried to squeeze on a collared shirt, and you didn't unbutton the top?
Yes,
the top button still button, or like even like the second button, and it's still like your head's too big. I bet he tried to yank down really hard, and it wasn't fitting through. He's got a pretty big melon here. He's got a pretty big head. This is his head. Oh shit. This is his head. He's got a pretty big head.
It definitely
so if he was just yanking down, you're not wearing a collared shirt, so you're not going to be able to recreate this. I just got to
try to think of
I think that he was just yanking down really hard on some sort of a shirt with a collar, and that was how or his arm got stuck in it and the shirt was too tight. I've done that before.
Yeah.
Gotten the arm stuck in the shirt, and you're just like, trying to yank your way out of it. It's kind of like whenever we had to put our jerseys on for games. You know how tight those were? Like taking those off, it was easy to pull something because you were yanking it off your body because it was skin tight.
That's a good point. Yeah, I remember it was acrobatics for the linemen. And you know what? I got sold out big time in college because Adidas, you probably didn't know this, Adidas made their numbers in the 60s a size smaller than their numbers in the 70s.
I wore 60, so I
forgot you wore 60.
Yeah.
You should have been more
Hated
grateful to wear
60.
60. That is, Gavin is being foul. That is shocking. That I was putting on like an XL jersey.
Wait, hold on a second. The real hacks of the week are the peanut gallery that do this every show now.
Oh, yeah.
Who created this bit? Who created this bit that we're both losing our hair or something? We need a him sponsorship.
Hey, Gavin, I got a hairline from God, homie. I'm not gonna lie.
I hate to admit that Sean has a good hairline.
This is one thing
that he's got going.
That I got going for me. I'm not losing my hair. I'm not going gray anytime soon. I'm locked in. This is you are talking to the wrong guy.
Moving back a little bit?
Do I get what kind of thing is that to say? You are a lying liar. I've never had a barber say, "Oh, sorry, that might not come back." It's always nice hair. That's a good head of hair right here. Compliments all the time. When I see extended family for the first time in years, man, he's got a good head of hair. I'm not lying.
All right, let's get back on track here. Who's your hack of the week?
My hack of the week, Travis Hunter. Welcome to the Hack of the Week Club. And it's not for any of the other hack of the week things that he's done with girlfriend, relations, or football. This guy doesn't know fishing. Travis Hunter went on.
I thought he was big into fishing, though.
Here's why he's a hack, Joseph. Travis Hunter went on a podcast and was talking about how he doesn't respect saltwater fishing compared to freshwater fishing, noting that saltwater fishing doesn't take any effort and that you can basically just drop a bunch of bait in the bottom of the ocean and you're going to catch a fish. Said any fool can go into the ocean, catch a fish. It takes real skill to fish in freshwater and to be able to actually learn how to fish and do it along the way.
I don't know what's going on.
Let me break down why he's wrong. First of all, maybe one of the most popular and lazy ways to fish is freshwater with a bobber or sending a leader down fishing for catfish, and then you're just sitting waiting for a catfish. Like people aren't dropping down. The sit and wait lazy game happens way more often in freshwater fishing than it does in saltwater fishing. Saltwater fishing, you have outriggers, you have tons of bait, you have chum, you have fake bait that you are leading, you have leaders. It's there's a bunch of effort to go out and do some saltwater fishing. He is putting no respect on it. And this is kind of an elitism bass fisherman thing that he's talking about because he loves bass fishing. Bass fishing is hard, but don't lie and act like every bass fisherman doesn't have a honey hole that they can go to, that they know that bass are sitting down in there. They drop a little worm on a Texas jig, and then they're just hauling monsters in the same spot they go to. It's a fallacy that freshwater fishing, it takes more effort than saltwater fishing. He is an absolute hack in this vein.
See, I can't criticize you for bringing this up because I know that we actually have a strong audience of people that probably know everything that you just said. I don't know, not a single word you just said registered for me.
I know I'm pulling you out of like a comfort zone here.
It's no comfort zone. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
But if he was talking about, I really was, like if he was throwing examples of, trout fishing in rivers, fly fishing, and having to be super delicate,
explain
super
it in
precise.
NFL terms.
Oh,
NBA terms.
Gosh, it's almost like people getting mad at the 3-point shooters now, getting mad at Steph Curry, where it's like, no, these guys pulling out marlin in the Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico,
helping.
whatever you're calling it, they're actually pretty damn talented at fishing and being able to track them, spot the birds, and find the line, find the kelp lines, find the structure, and then they catch it. But because they make it look so easy, because Steph Curry is just raining 3-pointers all over, they think it's just easy. They think it's changing the game. They don't like all the Garmin. They don't like the sonar that's being used. They think the freshwater fishermen are the big men. They like the old style. You couldn't play in the 90s. You couldn't take a saltwater fisherman and go fish in a pond. Yeah, of course you could. You definitely could. It's all the same thing. It's all basketball.
None of this is making sense to me. Well, I'm sure that for the fisherman community that was great analysis that you just gave.
It was a little hacky, and I thought from angler to angler between me and Travis Hunter, he would have shown a little more respect to those of us who enjoy both forms of fishing.
Again, I have no idea what the difference is. I couldn't tell you what the difference is. None of that, all that information just was being shot at me, and none of it was retained.
He's being divisive to a community that is already too divisive. It's supposed to be a relaxing
Who would have thought that Travis Hunter would have created hot takes that would have riled up the fishing community? Here you are. You're pissed off. He can't help but be controversial.
Hey, I hope you go to Jacksonville, Travis Hunter. You're going to do you're going to figure out what saltwater fishing is down there.
I don't even know what
go down to Tampa. They'll teach you something about saltwater fishing. Catch a tarpon and let me know how that makes you feel. I bet it tingles. I bet it makes you move when you see those big scales. I dare you. I spent 4 hours on docks just trying to hunt down one tarpon that I had 10 minutes of availability for, because it would just start moving back out into the ocean. And I had 10 minutes and I would burn hours after stewing because I missed it. I'm sure bass fishing is harder.
I'm not bringing up. We're never talking about fishing on this podcast. That's the longest. That is the biggest tangent that you have ever taken this podcast on. I mean, the audience has stayed the entire time of you giving that take.
Well, here's the thing. Rack's right also. Speak for fishing in the East. Come salmon fishing once. Yeah, people get down salmon fishing in Alaska, in the West Coast, in Washington. Go ahead. Yeah, that takes skill. That's hard to do. Just bringing up bass fishing on the East Coast in Georgia, you're just pulling out hog after hog after hog. It's nice. You're not fighting with perch and walleye in the ice fishing community, sitting and waiting for the little flag to go up. Ding! Now I got to fish.
He went to
time.
Jackson State, not Jacksonville State. Jackson State's in the middle of Mississippi.
Yeah.
Also, Jacksonville State's in Alabama, not in Jacksonville.
Gavin,
what are we doing here?
Fishing at Jackson State, he's still pulling out hogs and ponds. They're just feeding these fish like hell.
Did Rack call in and give a voicemail?
We have a voicemail for the hack bag, and we also have a couple questions if you want to get to that.
Well, I really briefly wanted to give a couple anecdotes from my night last night. So I went out to a party in Brooklyn that you were invited to, but you didn't come because you were out in Bowling Green trying to keep up with a bunch of college kids. You were so caught up with the college kids that you sent me a Snapchat yesterday. Did I? You sent me I turned off notifications for Snapchat because I don't get them. I have one buddy who Snapchats me, and I told him, stop Snapchatting me. You're an adult. Send me messages on Instagram. Was
that when I was on the bike? What was it? Where was it?
You sent it to me, and it was what you came in here to tell me when you got back from your fight.
Oh.
You came in here and told me that, like, these kids, we're not even going out to the bars until midnight.
They're maniacs. They're insane.
But you
people.
Snapchatted me. You haven't Snapchatted me in 4 years.
I don't know what happened.
Why did you Snapchat me?
I got
caught
around
a bunch of 20-year-olds. You're like, I gotta act like I'm one of the people.
No,
they gotta see me using Snapchat.
Dude, maybe that was subliminal. I honestly can't remember.
It must have been.
I don't Snapchat. I don't Snapchat people. And for some reason, I felt like Joe needed a Snapchat.
Did you Snapchat anyone else?
No.
So you only
I just sent a lone Snapchat to Joe, and yeah.
This is weird behavior, man.
It was shocking. I was.
Well, we're already talking about your night. What else about your night? What you kind of gave me the rundown here. You went out with your sister. You were visiting her for senior night.
Yeah.
And you went out to the bars at Bowling Green, and they didn't go out until midnight.
Yeah, it was me, my family. We did the those little. I guess Nashville's famous for them now. The pedal bars where you kind of sit on the bike and you pedal through the street and they play music and you can drink.
Yeah.
While kind of roaming around. Did that. I always thought it was kind of corny. Had the time of my life.
Really?
I'm not going to lie
corny
to you. It does. But I was sitting there and I'm like, oh man, it's like 50 degrees. But then you have a couple beers and the driver's honking the horns and they're playing the music and you kind of get into it. And you're like, okay, I'm in. I thought I had a blast. We had a couple air horns that we were squilling at people. It was a good time. And then after that, we're like, okay, time to hit the bars. It's 10 o'clock. No, time to pregame. Time to go to a party before the bars. And you go to a party and you're there for.
You went to a college party?
Yeah. And then
how weird was that?
It wasn't that weird. There were other adults there. There were other people. It was kind of like it was more of a mixer
adult
than a party. Adults, like parents and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So it was more like a mixer than a party, but
it
was 2 hours and we literally didn't start walking to the bars till midnight. And I'm 3 sheets to the wind. Like, wait, are we when are we going home? When are we going to eat? I am exhausted.
I can't do that anymore. I can't believe we used to do that. I know that we're such.
I'm
playing
washed.
into the.
Washed.
I mean, I told you I called my Uber. I went to a party at 7:30 yesterday, and I called my Uber at 10:45. I wasn't staying out. I think that they were thinking about going to bars out after. I don't think they made it out to bars, but there was no way I was going to have the energy to do that.
These kids are maniacs. I have one of those nights, maybe a month in me in New York, where it's really burning it down into the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah, but we start early. We always start at like 8.
Yeah. So that's like once maybe once every 2 months. I'm really like getting back here at 3 a.m., 3:30.
And most of that's the trip back.
Yeah.
It's not like being out at the bar that late.
They're just in it. That is their time. I completely forgot that these kids are just built different. We were built different at one point, showing up the bars at midnight.
Right.
That was not, you wouldn't even blink at that.
Yeah, that was normal.
What am I going at 8 when all the old people are going?
Yeah.
No, screw that.
Yeah, if you showed up too early, you were a total dickhead just standing there.
I tell you what,
no one to talk to.
The kids are all right. The streets were packed until, easily still packed at midnight. I think they were probably peaking around 1 a.m. when I was leaving. Also still impressed by the bar scene there. A Bowling Green State University.
There's nothing else to do in Bowling Green, Ohio.
It's a good college town. It is fun. The people aren't dickheads. It's a shockingly 2 for 2. Going out there, having a great time.
Thanks, Rack, for the say. Yeah, we got to do coke. We'll stay up later. Thanks, Rack. Thanks. Great advice, Rack. Real great advice.
Is that supposed to be insider information? Like we weren't privy.
This trick will keep you up all night.
Yeah.
Cocaine. Yeah, no shit.
Like we don't.
I don't do it. I would prefer not to do it. I've been around enough people that do it regularly. Those people are not. They don't have most of their brain cells left. Yeah, those people are operating on like radio signals to get their thoughts together. It is a ping pong back and forth just to generate like emotions and reactions to things when you talk to those people.
Oh, well, you could do Adderall instead. Oh, thanks, Rack. Like we don't know. We're not. We are privy.
I'd rather just go to bed. I would like to have not. I would like to not have Alzheimer's when I'm 55.
Hey, David. Unnecessary. Also, not. What are we doing in this chat?
Wait, is he trying to reference Quagmire? Does he not know who Quagmire is?
It's either Quagmire or was it Horace?
Oh, Herbert the pervert.
Yeah. Hey,
but he was into men. He was into Chris. That's not so. Okay,
David.
Awful reference. David.
I was lively.
Bad reference.
I was funny. I was polite.
Oh,
that's what I was. I was at times life of the party. At times. Wishing for death and wishing I could go home and sleep on a pull-out couch.
I was the same exact way when I went to Brooklyn. I've already made this decision for us. Have you been to Brooklyn before?
Yeah, maybe once or twice.
We're never going.
Oh,
we're never going. The minute I stepped foot off the subway, I was like, I don't want to be here. This is a dump. This is people. When you tell people from Brooklyn that you live in Hoboken, they're like, oh, Hoboken. Oh, I didn't know you lived all the way over in the slums of Hoboken. This area is nice compared to that freaking shithole. It's all run down. People forget that Brooklyn was. Nobody lived over there. Nobody lived in Brooklyn until recently because it was the only place that most people could afford unless you had some big finance job.
Oh, yeah.
That you're making a shitload of money.
BlackRock and the gentrifiers came in and then made it like livable.
No, but they didn't. No, but that's not what it was. It's still a trash can. So like all the people that were making like good mid-level $100,000 a year were moving into apartments over there. Tiniest apartment, by the way. I'm so glad that we don't live over there because we would barely fit in this 2-bedroom that we were having this party in. We were all hanging out in the kitchen. There was no room to hang out in the kitchen. It kept getting too hot and all that shit. But the couple of random anecdotes from the night. One of the downstairs neighbor tried to come into the party and asked if he could come hang out. Introduced himself as Jimbo Slice. Do you think that was actually his name or not?
It's a bad bit.
He said, my name's Jimmy, but they call me Jimbo Slice. And he tried to negotiate his way into the party, and my friend would not let him into the party.
Why couldn't it? Well, first of all, he shouldn't be. If he's doing shtick at the door before he goes in and meets anybody. Yeah.
Well, so part of his shtick was like, oh, I heard all the music. I was dancing my way up to the door. Just like bad. He was like 10 years older than us, too. He was a weird mid-30s guy.
That's the freaking Friday Beers skit of hey, seeing the college kids at the beer cooler.
Yeah.
I could come out. You want me to? You want me to come out with you? No? Okay, gotcha. In his 30s, trying to live it up.
Yeah, trying to come out.
Dude.
Right. So there was that guy.
Why don't I play chess? God.
The whole bit of the party was it was wine and charcuterie. So everybody brought a bunch of really bad bottles of wine. So I went on a whole rant on how bad the wine was. And I was shitting on New Zealand wine, only to realize that somebody pointed to goes, hey, didn't you? I was holding a bottle of wine. And I was saying that who the hell would bring a bottle of New Zealand wine?
That's
this
polite.
Is bad wine.
That's good party.
This doesn't taste good. I couldn't have been more direct. That was were the exact quotes. Somebody then turns to a guy who was listening to the conversation on the outside of it and said, hey, didn't you bring that bottle of wine? The guy just stared very quietly and goes like, yeah, that was my bottle of wine. That
he doesn't know what he's buying, and neither do you.
No. The guy tried to play it off. He was like, well, it's actually a very good bottle of wine. He tried to play it off like I didn't know what I was talking about.
Did you look up how expensive it was?
No, he was some finance guy who bought some fucking $20 bottle of wine.
Why do you think you know wine? I haven't seen you crack.
I know what, because I don't like to drink wine that often because it's very calorically dense.
I got 8 bottles of wine sitting here.
That came from Italy. I brought that back with me from Italy.
Why aren't you enjoying your nice Italian wine?
Because I've been trying to lose some weight.
Did you bring one of your Italian bottles of wine over there? Make a good impression?
No, I wasn't going to waste that on that.
And we're just looking at it?
Yeah, it's a good. Well, we're gonna drink it eventually. It ages. It gets better with age.
Did you just try to tell me that wine ages? I have no prior knowledge that wine. Hey, you're kind of DeLeone. Why don't you freaking lock in a little bit over here? Good Lord. So you're being pompous. You're the pompous wine guy.
I was a pompous asshole.
That's
unintentionally,
nice.
which
People
was
like
ironic because most of the other the crowd of people that I didn't know outside of my high school friend who invited me, they were pretty pompous the entire time. They were talking about the stock market and the tariffs and all that shit.
Do you think you'll ever see these people again?
Most of them, no, and I hope I don't.
Then you did the right thing. Why not just,
I didn't give a shit.
Then you did the right thing.
I didn't care. There was a girl there that was speaking with one of the most, she was doing a voice. She was doing a voice, and it sounded like a voice that you would hear in a TV show, and you would think that nobody sounds like that in real life. And she was doing that voice. I'm trying to think of if I could possibly recreate it without sounding like a complete and utter buffoon. But it was like a Southern Californian voice from someone who's not from Southern California.
It's a bad bit. I knew a girl in Arlington that went to college and changed her name to a city name. And then she started speaking like she was from the Valley. And I'm like, you grew up in Northern Virginia. You need to simmer down a little bit. But she had this cartoon voice. Every time I heard it, I'm like, wait, what is this affect? If I need a girl voice actor to come in and give lines,
right, I
would say, hey, could you just say this in your normal voice, please? Because it's ridiculous.
Wait, let me see if I can do it. And the way that she was, she asked me where I was from, and I told her I was from Hoboken. Or I live in Hoboken. And it wasn't how do you like Hoboken? And she was her way of saying it was, what's happening in Hoboken? Like that. But I caught her. She was later on in the night, she started speaking normally. I caught her not speaking that way. So I don't understand why does this part of the city, why does that part of the city attract that weird group of people? That was the whole group. There was 12 people there. They were all kind of given that same weird vibe.
They don't get enough attention. And this is why if you meet me on the street, I'm not this guy if I'm not on and I'm just walking around, it's hoodie up, headphones in. I don't want to talk to anybody because I get nice attention here. I get attention from you listeners. This is where I get fill. I don't need to go out into the public and start acting like a dickhead, trying to be performative.
I don't know if that was, I guess it was performative. The other thing I got hit with, my buddy Chris, I love my buddy Chris, who I went to high school with. He just moved in with his girlfriend. I think they've been dating for around a year. And they've been moved in together for a month. She made a comment about this podcast because she had asked, our sticker was prominently placed on the refrigerator because Chris had put it there. And I sent you a picture. And she asked what are you doing for work right now? Because she didn't know. I'd met her once before. She didn't know. And I explained to her, I'm an on-air host. And I got I thought that the podcast was a hobby. And I get it that this show is not a massively lucrative show, but I don't know why that made me a little bit annoyed.
What are you going to do?
Am I am I being too sensitive to allow something like that to bother me?
I've had friends ask me, when are you gonna, when are you gonna give it up? When are you gonna stop doing this? When are you gonna? They don't understand. They don't. It's just a world that they're not involved in because everyone else that they know that does a podcast does it for 2 months and then quits.
Yeah.
And they're just stuck with $2,000 worth of equipment because they're stupid because they bought a bunch of expensive equipment before even like testing a show or having any theory of or show theory or reference points. And also, Rack, I don't know if she was hot either, but I'm waiting for Joe to.
No.
Oh, she wasn't?
I'm hoping my friend doesn't listen to this. She was wearing like a crochet top and she like, it was 30 degrees out. It was like a crochet top and you could like completely fully see her stomach. And she probably should not have been wearing a top like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Rack also wants to know if she gave you a quote gummer. End quote.
No. It's just one of the girls at the party was from near outside of DC, and I had said my roommate is from Arlington, Virginia.
Don't loop me in with these people.
She stupidly asked, what's his name? I might know him. And I was like, you're not going to know him. I said, Sean Anderson. Her response, instead of like, oh yeah, I know Sean Anderson, it was, oh, that's the most generic name I've ever heard of. So I wanted to pass that along.
Oh, I appreciate that. What was her name?
Oh, I didn't get her name.
Oh, okay. So she was actually someone that nobody even cared to get her name. So yeah, you want to talk about my generic ass name? I know what my name is. Ron Bennington once said the name Sean is possibly the most unfuckable name of all time as a first name. I were talking about Sean Connery or something like that.
I can get that. It's pretty unfuckable.
Yeah. You're not going to sit here and no one's ever been, oh, Sean Moore. It's never I'm not hearing my name. I
don't think any girl is exactly running to.
That's fine.
To announce that one.
And I don't need that. I don't need my name to be
moaned.
Moaned. What balls that lady? Although it's the most generic name.
I knew this was going to piss you off. I said this. This is going to piss Sean off. I'm going to tell Sean.
Kidding me?
I knew this was going to piss you off.
Here's the thing: if I was some run-of-the-mill finance guy that was 6 feet tall, normal, ate broccoli and chicken every day,
you're 6'6", though.
Then Sean Anderson
6'6",
would just blend into the crowd as an NPC for the rest of his life. That's what would happen. I die in the Midwest at a bar. It'd be a great life. No. I'm a big monster. So when you have someone that is exceptionally large, exceptionally, if you want me on at a party, can command a party, then it doesn't become a generic name.
See, I knew you were going to take it this
memorable name.
I knew you were going to take this personally. It is a generic name.
Yeah, of course it's a generic name. I appreciate my parents giving me a generic name. I think it's good. It teaches you, make something out of the name. Make someone actually recognize the generic name.
Or
we can't all just be walking around with made-up names from made-up countries like Joe DeLeone.
It's not made up.
Where it's just all...
It's unique, but also, relatable. Joe is a very relatable name.
Name's all vowels. Give me a break.
It is all vowels. I never thought of it that way. It's mostly vowels.
It's made up.
It's dominated by vowels. It's not a lot of consonant
action.
You're
coming from a fairy tale world.
The last thing in this one, before we'll do one voicemail and then we'll close out because we're going long here. So I love my buddy Chris, and I'm not like trying to make fun of him and his relationship here, but his girlfriend like went on the spiel of like they've been living together for a month. Okay, they've been like kind of living together for like 4 months or so, but they haven't been seeing each other that long. She went on the whole spiel of like, I would do anything for him. I would die for him. I can't wait for us to like to two dudes, to me and another guy was giving this spiel. And the other guy was eating it up. Like, yeah, Chris is awesome. That's awesome. That's so great. And I was just like,
love that for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the whole rest of it is like, I can't wait for us to have kids. Like we've already got our whole life planned out. And I'm like, I don't know why that was kind of nauseating to me. I don't know why. That conversation advanced to the point where I literally out loud said like, because this other individual kind of shared the sentiment of like, I can't wait to get married and have kids and all this stuff. And I pointed out, I haven't thought about that once. Are we flawed?
You operate in a very unique circumstance. And I'm going to leave it at that because you choose to disclose what you disclose. But
okay.
The way you operate in your personal life is rare. Most people are crazy like that. And most people are talking like that out loud, which is asinine because why are you putting that out to the universe? If you hold something very dearly, You keep it to yourself.
Right.
And you don't start saying it's going to work for us. We're not going to be one of
Well,
the.
see, that's a really good point. I wouldn't want to go around announcing that to everybody. What if this burns down? Every person, wait, hold it. Seriously, no, seriously. Every couple I know, that's a really good point. Every couple I know that is announced and proclaimed they're like loved out to everybody. Joe Serralo, I love Joe Serralo. He's done this with like 3 relationships that I've known him through. I've known him for 3 years, and he's been through 3 different relationships where he's done this, and they've all crashed and burned. He moved in with one of them too. It's the same shit.
Why are you calling your shot when the best hitters in baseball are batting 300? Like it's just a silly thing to do. You could be one of them. And I don't know, the numbers are still 50-50 of people staying together when they're married. It might be skewed higher towards the divorce side of things. But why would you ever put that energy out there? Why are you ever getting so serious where you need to exclaim it's not going to be like, it's just. And again,
I'm not trying to be critical because I have no idea if I don't think Chris is going to tune in.
It's a foolish endeavor.
But yeah, I don't really get that. That was a little not off-putting to me, but I was kind of. Are we now entering that age where individuals like you and me have to start separating ourselves from people that are in couples like that?
Yeah, we are. I am. You see who I hang out with.
That's
you
true.
Saw what I did for my birthday. I didn't go to a club and start flexing nuts. I played Mario Kart for 6 hours. I
was telling my friend Devin this. Whenever I get, and I'm promising you this, I'm putting this out in the ether.
Oh,
whenever I get like either the real big job, hosting job, or I get like just like everything goes right, like the biggest accomplishment that I could hit. Maybe the one of our channels hits 100,000 subs.
Sure.
Maybe that's what it is. We're doing a Bottle Wars. We're going to a club and we're doing a Bottle Wars.
That's
with somebody.
fun. That's just good-hearted
Specifically,
fun.
probably Houston. I would like to do it in Houston.
I want my bachelor party to be a Bottle Wars in Atlanta. That's what I'd like to do. Go down to the
A.
A.
I'm glad that we're on the same page here.
We'll have a real fun weekend. I'm not going to Vegas. We're going to get down. A time will be had there. But yeah, I'm excited for Bottle Wars because that's what fun people do.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a great time. I don't know. I've never felt more out of place at a party. Except for when I was talking with. Whenever the subject got changed and me and Chris were talking about how fat and stupid we were in high school and how we used to order Domino's and play Super Smash Bros. When we were seniors in high school instead of going to parties. Like that
rules.
That was the real, yeah. Yeah, and then there was also the uncomfortable part of his girlfriend then trying to set me up with one of her friends at the party. That was uncomfortable.
Humble brag.
Well, she knew I was in a relationship, so that was a little bit
humble brag.
Not a humble brag.
Oh, I can't keep away. Chasing. Keeping them off with a stick. Joe DeLeone putting something out there.
All right, play the hackback. 201-834-4306.
4308.
The mail never stops.
Learn the number.
This is the Hackbag. Hit us on
Twitter
with questions or call at 201-834-4308.
There might have been some retaliation against me for giving out the wrong phone number because on Tuesday I got a phone call from Angie's List and they were like, hey, somebody gave me your phone number. You're looking to get some more clients? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Dude, I have been kirking off on these people that are calling in to me about healthcare and about just nonsense spazzing at work.
All right, what do you got?
All right.
We haven't listened to this, have we?
Yeah. Here is our voicemail. Thank you very much for sending in your voicemails. 201-834-4308. We love it when you contribute to the show.
I got a general NFL draft question. Will we see a pair of receivers go in the first round that are as bad route runners and separators as Corey Coleman was and Josh Doxson was in the same draft again?
I actually think that this year we have the potential for that to be recreated. I actually wouldn't be shocked with the variance of capabilities and outcomes for what happens with Ted McMillan and with Matthew Golden. I would, if you told me in 2 years that this ends up being one of the worst receiver draft classes that we've had in the last 10 years, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, that was a tough draft class to look back on because the Doxson hype was real. I think Treadwell went in that draft also. That hype was real. Corey Coleman hype was real. I thought he was going to be an absolute stud.
Yeah.
And I would say I would challenge that this year there's way less like expectation of these guys are going to be game-breaking studs than it was in that year. So yeah, I think there's going to be a skewed view of this class because nobody's going out and saying, well, we're going to draft this guy in the first round. He's going to completely redefine our franchise at the wide receiver position.
That was the only one that we had. I'm surprised. That was an actual very polite and tame question. I respect the individual who called in with that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
question.
Keep calling in. We got a draft guy.
Rack, you are a coward. Rack, you're a coward. We're waiting for you to call in. All right, we need to end the show. 201-834-4308. Call in with your questions at Hack City Pod, at Joe DeLeone, at Sanderson Radio. We'll talk to you folks later. Enjoy the rest of your week.